All right, we're joined in studio by Tim Akinnusi, who is the CEO and co-founder of MortgageMarket. And the conversation is whether or not it's the right time to buy or sell your property. I don't know if there's ever an ultimate time, but you are the professional. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm very well, Bridget. And yourself?
I'm great. Thank you so much for slurping all the way up here. Much appreciated.
Always a pleasure to be live in studio.
Let's talk about this. I was saying to the listener earlier that there used to be a time, my mom's been in property for 20 odd years as
Right.
a realtor.
Oh, great.
And there used to be a time when she'd go, it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. And I haven't heard those utterances in a long time.
Right.
Does that still come into play?
I think that will probably speak to things that are seasonal or cyclical. So it does still come into play. But fundamentally, this idea of a buyer's market, a seller's market, if you asked me the question to say, should somebody own property and should they be buying property? Yes, I might have a bias and say yes. But the reality is that it's probably the best in your best interest to buy property sooner rather than later. And the reason why is that fundamentally, three things are constantly happening. Number one, there's more people being born, so there's more need for housing, which means that the supply is always going to be constrained, which means that the prices of things are likely to go up, right? Bridget, they're not making any more new land, so that's also a finite thing, which means that the cost of space is going up. And then lastly, if you think about every input that goes into building a house, right, all those input costs are always going up, right? So the price of bricks, the price of wood, the price of steel, all those input costs are going up. Even if they were going up just by inflation, right, compounded means that the price of property ultimately is going to increase. So it's only getting more expensive. So if you can get in, then it's a good thing to do because then you're investing in the long term.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll always say, fundamentally, it's always good to get in. But then what makes it more interesting is, when is it the most favorable time, right? And the most favorable time is when an interest rate cycle is on the decline, because then you have more property to be able to afford, right? It's a lot cheaper to take out long-term debt when interest rates are going down rather than going up. And that's the cycle that we're in now. I mean, we've just had a rate reduction quite recently, and that's probably about the third or fourth one that we've had since the rate reduction cycle, started. So that means it is a buyer's market, if I were to sum it up in that way.
Absolutely. I always chuckle when the repo rate comes up because homeowners will take to X and calculate their bonds and go, I can't believe I'm getting excited for a 300 rand
reduction. It's 300, but it compounds. Bridget, you know that, right? Yeah. So over every month it compounds, and of course over the years it compounds, and then it adds up.
Absolutely. I love what you say, Tim, about if you can buy as soon as possible, because here's where and maybe you've just explained it. There's a development that's been coming up behind my house, and I'm looking because I
know you mentioned that the last time.
I love the design. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, when you started breaking ground probably about 13, 14 months ago, you were coming in from 3.7. You've since marked up to 3.9, and now you are from 4.2. I'm like, how, Sway?
Yeah. That's typically the trend is that, when they order the input costs such as steel that's going in or paint work, the price has gone up. So they need to obviously price for that so that they can still make an economic return, and they tend to push that price onto the consumer, ultimately.
So you also say that getting a mortgage in South Africa is starting to look a lot like buying a fridge. Explain that to me.
When you think about like the partners that we have our technology embedded into their ecosystems, like a Takealot, right? So you can now get your mortgage from Takealot, right? We've made it so accessible that anyone, wherever you are looking to do your shopping or wherever you do your banking or invest in, like with our partners, EasyEquities, right? You can now purchase a property in that same way through their platforms, right? So it's a lot more accessible, and we're very proud of the work that we've been doing with all these partners to ensure that, buying a property is as simple as what you would do on their platforms.
Okay, so that's what
That's what we meant.
Okay, because I was just like, fridge is far,
Yeah.
far more cost effective than buying a house. What's still the single biggest mistake that first time buyers are making? In just understanding the landscape and getting themselves that first home.
Right. I think the single biggest one that really can be avoided is make sure you are getting that property at the right price, because it's a long-term investment, and that 0.5 rate that you can save, or even 100 basis points that you can save, will save you so many thousands down the line. And by that I mean, never simply go to your bank and get the best rate that bank can offer you. You need to get price counseling. You need to make sure that you're searching the entire marketplace of all the lenders to ensure that you are getting the best price. And that's where a platform like MortgageMarket comes in, because you make a single application and we go on your behalf to all the banks in real time, and we come back with all those multitude of quotes that you can ultimately be rest assured that indeed this is the best price in the market, right, to save you a lot of that money over the long term. It's a 20 to 30 year commitment, so as you can imagine, you don't want to get the price wrong at the start, otherwise you're stuck with that. And so, we help you negotiate and get the best price through that. And then, of course, we've got other bells and whistles, such as, giving you a cash back, once your property is registered, and helping you through that journey with whatever information and insights and tools you would need to pay off that property so that you ultimately own it.
Sure. I mean, it's a long journey. And tell me this, Tim, because, you know better. Tim's social media guys here. By the way, you can roll around so that you just don't have one angle of it. When it comes to buying a property, and a lot of people, you talked about the 20 to 30 year bond. Because now we're getting all the information.
Sure.
Since you said it's, is it the right time or not the right time? I feel like all of this will help us decide.
Sure.
20 to 30, which is better? Being committed for 30 years in the short term versus 20 years
20
in
years,
the long
yeah.
term?
Yeah. So here's how you should look at it, right? Is that 20 and 30 years are already fairly long, lengthy periods, right? And a lot can happen in those 20 to 30 years. So what you want to always start off with is, as much as possible, start with a 20-year bond. And the 20-year bond would, yes, it'll cost you a little bit more in terms of your repayment amount, but it will cost you less in terms of the interest that gets charged, because it's now over a shorter period of time. 20 versus 30, right? Secondly, the benefit of doing that is that you allow yourself some room to restructure your bond if you get into any financial difficulty. So let's say in year 5, maybe you lost your job, or you would like to pause your repayments because you're going through other financial priorities. What you can do is ask the bank to restructure that to 25 years. So you leave yourself some headroom to be able to restructure your bond down the line. And that's why you want to start off with 20. But when you've started off with 30, which is a max, you don't have any more room to renegotiate if you get into financial difficulty. So that's why we advise people never to start off with 30, although 30 might give you some leeway in terms of your monthly repayments and reduce that, but it allows you no room to restructure your bond if you do get into some financial difficulty. So the advice there is start off with the 20, give yourself some room to get to 25 or even to 30 if need be.
Okay, so it's December now, in our final moments. It's December now. A lot of people are looking at maybe, changing, whether going bigger, getting smaller, changing provinces. What advice would you give?
Yeah, these are all long-term things, right? You shouldn't really be swayed by, the seasonality of December, right?
Yeah.
And we often get into this thing and think that December is this massive 30, 40-day thing. The holiday. I know, right? But it's often good to look through the December period and kind of ask yourself, going into next year, am I semi-grading? Am I doing the semi-work thing? Is that the best thing for me to maybe look to a different province because your lifestyle will be better, or maybe your kids need a change of school, So often you want to plan that decision to buy a house around things that you feel are a lot more permanent in your life over at least a year, right? Because a lot of us we don't know what will happen beyond a year, but at least a year period, right? And if that's in your plans to do, right, consider things like what you need from that home. Is security a big priority? Are shopping centers or other amenities a key part of your priority in terms of how you want to move? Is convenience a big thing, right? And so when you start thinking about all those factors, right, where you are going to go to, where your kids are going to go to school, how much gym time you need, where your place of work is, making sure that there's a convenience factor around you, right, is an important consideration when deciding to say, buy this place because those things make sense for my life or not, right? You could also look at things such as, is it better to buy in a sectional title versus a freestanding home, right? Maybe security is not such a big, thing for you. Maybe a sense of community is not such a big deal for you. Then you buy the standalone house and you have your own privacy, etc., right? So when you go through those, those checklist items, right, you'll very quickly come up to the right decision on what type of property you should be buying.
Well, listen, I get the feeling even in 2026, we'll still be chatting to you about property. But for today, we're going to leave it there. I think the takeaway is because the repo rates are down, and any homeowner celebrates all of this and will concur with Tim to say, if you're looking to buy, this will be the time. But always remember that they swing up and they swing down, just like the petrol price. Tim Akinnusi, thank you so much for your time. He's the CEO and co-founder of MortgageMarket. Where do people go, by the way, in our last 10 seconds, if they want to come through and have a bond application?
Please find us on mortgagemarket.co.za. Simply click on apply or get pre-approved, and we'll be in contact with you. And the process is very short, very efficient, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome stuff. That is all the time we have for today. 3 o'clock exactly on the dot.